Good evening, I'm Soraya Mia and this is AWANI Tonight. Former Prime Minister Najib Razak found guilty in final SRC international appeal. What's in store for his political career? That's coming up. The federal court has upheld former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak's conviction in the SRC international corruption case. Najib was found guilty of 7 charges of criminal breach of trust, abuse of power and money laundering over misappropriating 42 million ringgit from SRC International. He will pay a 210 million ringgit fine and serve a 12-year prison term, making him the first former PM to be sentenced to jail. The final verdict was delivered by Chief Justice Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat. Earlier today, Najib applied for Tengku Maimun to be recused from the hearing due to purported biasness, but the application was dismissed by the court. The basis of the application was made based on a 2018 Facebook post by the Chief Justice's husband, in which he criticized the former premier. Lead counsel Hisham Tepotek argued that the Chief Justice's allowing of adjournments for the bar's walk of justice in support of Judge Datuk Nazan Ghazali was further evidence of her apparent bias in the appeal. Najib's former counsel Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah also appeared in court to assist in the recusal and requested for proceedings to be adjourned to tomorrow. However, his request was rejected by the court. Following today's guilty verdict, how will it impact Datuk Sri Najib Razak's political career? Political analyst Mujibu Abdul Muiz discusses what's in store for the former premier.
Najib will be going to jail for quite some time, and definitely the status of Najib of being a convict will lead to his disqualification if he wants to, let's say, get involved in the election for quite some time. And having his age now is almost 70, so time is not going to be good on his side. But somehow there are several cases where the convict may have a prolonged political career after they have settled their sentences, like Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. When, of course, you cannot also rule out there is a royal pardon that may be given to several political convicts.
Mujibu also weighed in on the future leadership of Najib's constituency in Pekan Pahang.
I don't think this Bosco popularity will diminish among his supporters. But somehow, the most important thing that we are going to see that whether Najib disappearance may help UMNO in boosting their popularity in the same way that when Najib was there and giving UMNO some kind of energy boost to the popularity during the Malacca election as well as the Johor election. So this will be some kind of testament to his legacy, whether his dynasty is still there in Pekan, and of course whether the Pekan UMNO division will accept to these particular rumors that they are going to replace Najib with his son, or they have another means to replace with somebody else, which is very, I think it is very good for UMNO in Pekan rather than maintaining Najib legacy or Tun Razak legacy in Pekan and giving maybe another direction for UMNO in Pahang to give opportunity to others rather than stick to one very famous political dynasty.
Having played a significant role in UMNO's leadership, Najib's absence will also affect the dynamics within the political party. Mujibu shares what to look out for in the coming weeks.
The development will be whether we are going to have soon general election. This will be the biggest question, because this development will definitely give UMNO a very bad reputation. And UMNO knows the longer they have to wait, more things will come out and affected their reputation, and this will be bad to them. And of course, time is not on their side, because with this stipulated time, maybe the opposition will capitalize this thing, and of course give them time to regroup themselves and of course attacking UMNO. So it is depending on whether this result will push UMNO harder to pressure the Prime Minister to dissolve the Parliament, or whether this thing will lead to another development to the Prime Minister himself to make sure that these decisions made by the court will give him another political mileage, which says that I'm not going to interfere, or I'm not going to influence the court, and I'm going to maintain the integrity of politics as part and parcel of my leadership.
Still guilty as charged, Najib Razak is the first PM from a Southeast Asian country to be convicted and imprisoned. But is his fate sealed? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guests about the federal court's judgment and its implications. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob promised Budget 2023 will prioritise people's well-being by taking into consideration challenges ahead. Among them, ensuring post-COVID recovery, creating jobs, increasing incomes, and making sure businesses survive.
A total of 242 organizations, including business chambers, academia and non-governmental organizations, submitted 1,935 memoranda as the government seeks public opinion ahead of budget tabling. Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Dato' Muhammad Shah Abdullah said Budget 2023 will be inclusive and beneficial to all segments of society. He highlighted reform initiatives, particularly improving income and social protection, business competitiveness and value chains, as well as strengthening Malaysia's resilience against future shocks. Budget 2023 is expected to be tabled in late October this year.
Mismanagement and irregularities in the Littoral Combat Ship LCS project suggest potential losses of 890 million ringgit. This is according to a forensic audit report by Bauxite Heavy Industries Corporation, BHIC, which was declassified last night.
The losses were incurred by overlapping letters of award, double claims, currency conversion, undelivered items and alleged dummy payments to companies. The report also said there were incidents where electronic devices and documents were destroyed, indicating attempts to conceal irregularities in the matter. It noted that provisions in the shareholders' agreement was drafted in such a manner that BHIC cannot access information related to procurement on behalf of boasted naval shipyard, financial matters and utilization of generated funds or banking information. Despite multiple red flags raised by various quarters, the report said no corrective measures were taken by the management or the chairman of the board. It added that clauses of the letter of awards were poorly drafted with vague scopes.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Keluarga ini membayar RM290 untuk satu malam di hotel. Keluarga ini membayar RM240 semalam untuk bilik yang sama. Bagaimana? Trivago memaparkan harga daripada ratusan laman tempahan di seluruh dunia, memudahkan anda membandingkan tawaran. Hotel Trivago.
COVID-19 memperlihatkan kepada kita betapa pantasnya adaptasi teknologi di kalangan PKS kita. Niaga AWANI dan Unified Business akan menyelami perjalanan kebangkitan semula PKS kita melalui segmen Jiwa SME setiap Selasa dan Khamis untuk inspirasi anda.
Transformasikan perniagaan dengan Unified Business, rakan digital pilihan anda. Hubungi kami sekarang dan jimat sehingga 50%. Jom Unified Business.
What's the latest scoop when it comes to companies, markets and strategies? For everything business and tech related, catch Notepad with me, Ibrahim Sani, weekdays 10:30 PM across all AWANI platforms.
Ada banyak lagi rewards untuk bulan ni. Wow! Astro Rewards ada 3 ganjaran istimewa untuk semua pelanggan Astro. Penghantaran percuma dengan jimat poket Aeon. Lebih 500 tiket wayang percuma untuk dimenangi setiap bulan. Ada TV pintar di rumah dan nak Astro kedua, hanya RM14.99. Jangan tunggu lagi, layari laman Astro Rewards sekarang.
Siapalah yang kejam sangat ni? Sampai pisau tu tersangkut kat badan dia.
Semua tempat mesti ada petunjuk. Yes! 5%!
Yang 5% tu pun awak kena dengar. Itu suara hati awak.
Ada orang yang simpan rahsia.
Buang mayat tu. Asalkan benda tu hilang.
Saya bukan pembunuh, Datuk.
Murder by Moonlight. A getaway to die for. Di Astro Citra dan Astro Go.
Welcome back. Some 2,000 anti-government protesters gathered outside New Zealand's parliament, venting their frustration on several issues. This comes nearly 6 months after anti-vaccine protests disrupted the capital, Wellington, for 3 weeks. Organized by the Freedom and Rights Coalition, protesters from across the country assembled on the lawns outside Parliament. Among the issues that were brought up were tighter environmental regulations for farmers, a government bid to take over regionally owned water assets, and now largely removed COVID-19 restrictions. At the same time, about 250 counter-protesters also gathered in a bid to counter hate, homophobia, bigotry, and disinformation from the far right. Police in March ended an anti-vaccine protest that disrupted the capital for 3 weeks, with dozens arrested. This time, streets are closed and barriers were erected in front of Parliament, with heavy police presence around the grounds. In other news, the Philippines will close government offices and public schools in the capital region and some provinces for 2 days starting today. This comes as tropical storm Maon made landfall, bringing heavy rains since this morning.
The order by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. covers Metro Manila, an urban sprawl of 16 cities and provinces of Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, Bulacan, Zambales and Bataan. According to the State Weather Bureau, the storm with winds of up to 110 km per hour intensified as it hit land, before barreling through northern Philippine provinces. It also warned that dozens of northern provinces could also be impacted by the storm, as more rain is expected to bring severe winds, flooding and landslides. The Bureau said the storm is likely to weaken as it crosses the country, but will re-intensify and develop into a typhoon over the South China Sea tomorrow night.
In other news, China's National Health Commission said COVID-19 contributed to the decline in the country's marriage and birth rates. The decline has accelerated in recent years due to high costs of education and child-rearing.
The Commission said many women are continuing to delay plans to marry or have children due to rapid economic and social developments. It added that young people relocating to urban areas have more time to spend on education and high-pressure working environments. According to demographers, China's zero-COVID policy may have caused profound, lasting damage on the people's desire to have children. New births in China are set to fall to record lows this year, with forecasts calling for a drop below 10 million compared to last year's 10.6 million babies, 11.5% lower than in 2020.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced an inquiry after predecessor Scott Morrison gave extra powers to himself when he was in the top job. Albanese decided on this after reviewing the Solicitor General's advice on the legality of some of Morrison's moves.
The Solicitor General found that Morrison fundamentally undermined responsible government by secretly appointing himself to additional ministries. It said that while Morrison's actions were legal, his decision to keep them secret from the public and his own colleagues was inconsistent with conventions. The former Prime Minister has described the steps taken as necessary in extraordinary times. Between March 2020 and May 2021, Morrison was appointed Minister of Health, Finance, Home Affairs, Treasury and Industry, moves which appeared to have given him equal powers to the ministers already appointed to those positions. Most ministers in his administration were reportedly unaware they were sharing portfolios with Morrison.
That's all for the show tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Soraya Mia, and I'll see you tomorrow.